Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
And today we're going to be looking at
Oh, yeah.
a really interesting section of the Bible.
Yes.
Daniel chapter 9.
Love it.
And we're going to be talking about prophecy and history
Oh.
and just this powerful prayer that Daniel prays in this chapter.
Yeah, it's a chapter that really, I think, gets to the heart of the human condition, and especially the condition of exile and longing for restoration.
Yeah, it's really interesting because, we find Daniel here, and he's been in exile in Babylon for decades.
Right.
And he's been studying the prophet Jeremiah.
Yeah.
And he realizes that the 70 years of exile that were prophesied by Jeremiah are almost up.
Right.
And you would think he would be excited.
You would think so.
You would be ready to celebrate.
Right.
But that's not what we see in the text at all.
You don't see, then instead you see this profound sadness coming over him.
Right. And it's not just about like a physical return to Jerusalem.
No.
It's about the spiritual state of his people.
Absolutely. It's about the condition of their hearts. And, I think that really is going to lead us into this prayer.
Yeah. So Daniel prays this incredible prayer.
Incredible prayer.
And he doesn't just ask for a ticket home.
No.
He really lays bare the soul of a nation.
It's wrong.
Yeah. And what strikes me is just his honesty.
Yes.
He confesses not just the sins of the people,
Right.
but his own failings as well.
Yes. Such a good point. Such a good point. He doesn't shy away from the truth, does he?
No, he doesn't.
He just lays it all out there.
Yeah, and it's this awareness
Yeah.
that he has that is so rare.
Very rare, even for a prophet.
Yeah, he's not afraid to admit that they messed up
Right.
and that they've turned away from God's laws.
And disobeyed and faced the consequences of that disobedience.
Yeah, and I think that's such a powerful reminder for us today.
Oh, absolutely.
That even when we mess up,
Yeah.
owning our mistakes is the first step
It is.
towards healing
It's the beginning of the process.
and restoration.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah, and then there's this beautiful paradox
Okay.
in his plea for forgiveness.
Yeah.
Because he's not saying, hey, we've been good,
Right.
so let us off the hook.
He doesn't say that.
He's not saying that at all.
He's not appealing to their merit.
Yeah, it's more like, we know we messed up big time,
Right.
but your mercy
Yes.
is our only hope.
That's it. That's it. And you know what? This points to a core idea that just runs through scripture.
Okay.
Grace.
Grace.
That forgiveness is not something we earn.
Right.
It's a gift
Yeah.
given freely by God.
Amazing.
And it's in those moments of utter humility
Right.
when we just recognize how desperately we need grace.
Yeah.
That's when we really open ourselves up
Yeah.
to God's transformative power.
That's so good. Okay, so we've got Daniel here.
Yep.
He's deep in prayer,
Mm-hmm.
pouring his heart out to God,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden,
Huh?
an angelic visitor appears.
Out of nowhere.
It's like something out of a movie
Oh, yeah. It's like a scene you'd see.
on
Yeah.
the big screen.
Totally. And it's the angel Gabriel.
Gabriel.
Now, this isn't the first time
Right.
that Gabriel has visited Daniel.
No, they've met before.
They've met in previous chapters.
Yeah.
And Gabriel has delivered messages
Messages and visions.
and visions to Daniel before.
Right.
So you can imagine what's going through Daniel's mind.
Yeah, he's probably like, all right, Gabriel,
Yeah. What you
The-
got for me?
what do you have for me this time?
That's the divine download.
And Gabriel does not disappoint.
No, he doesn't.
He comes bearing a prophecy about 70 weeks.
70 weeks.
Now, these are not literal weeks.
Right. We're not talking about 7-day weeks here.
Yes, so what are we talking about then?
We're dealing with symbolic time,
Symbolic time.
which always makes biblical prophecy
Yeah.
super interesting.
So it's like a way of conveying
Yeah.
this grand sweep of history.
Right. It's a way of highlighting those key moments and transitions.
Okay, so if we're not talking about literal weeks,
Yeah.
what kind of time frame are we talking about here?
That's the question.
And what exactly is supposed to happen during these 70 weeks?
Well, that's where the mystery begins.
Okay.
I mean, this prophecy is packed with cryptic details
Yeah.
and vivid imagery.
Well, we know that it mentions the end of transgression,
Yes.
atonement for iniquity,
Mm-hmm.
and the ushering in of everlasting righteousness.
That's right. Big stuff.
That sounds pretty significant.
Definitely suggests a period of profound transformation.
Right.
Both for Daniel's people
Yeah.
and ultimately for the whole world.
For the world. Okay, so let's break down the 70 weeks prophecy a bit further.
Okay, let's do it.
Because it gets even more fascinating
It does.
from here.
It really does. Well, the prophecy kind of lays out this timeline.
Okay.
And it starts with 7 weeks and 62 weeks.
Okay.
So a total of 69 weeks leading up to
Right.
a really pivotal figure
Okay.
described as an anointed one, a prince.
All right, so we're talking about a significant leader,
Yeah.
someone who's going to emerge on the scene.
Yeah, a key player in the story.
Right. Okay, but then
It
things take a dark turn, right?
does. It takes a turn.
What happens?
Well, this anointed one is cut off.
Cut off.
Yeah.
And that's...
And it's not clear what that means.
It's not clear at all.
Right
And this
now.
is where interpretations really start to diverge.
Yeah.
You know, you got some scholars who believe this cutting off
Okay.
refers to like a sudden and tragic end.
Okay.
Like maybe even death.
Okay.
Others see it as like a rejection or removal from power.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So there's a lot of mysteries surrounding
Yeah.
the fate of this anointed one.
Okay, so we don't really know
We don't know for sure.
what happens to this anointed one.
Right. And it's left open to interpretation.
Okay. And then, as if that weren't enough,
Mm-hmm.
the prophecy goes on to talk about the destruction of the city and the sanctuary.
Yes. Very intense imagery there.
Things are getting pretty intense.
Yeah, it's getting heavy.
Yeah. So
Everyone.
this part of the prophecy has led to a lot of debate among scholars.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Big time. With some connecting it to events that happened centuries after Daniel's time.
Right.
And one figure who often comes up in these discussions
Okay.
is Antiochus the Sixth, Epiphanes,
Antiochus the Fourth.
a Seleucid king
Yes.
who ruled over Judea
Over Judea.
in the 2nd century BC.
That's right. 2nd century BC.
And I'm guessing this Antiochus
Yeah.
was not exactly known for his gentle reign.
Not really known for his kindness and gentleness, no. What's the connection to this prophecy?
Well, he's known for trying to suppress Jewish practices,
Okay.
you know, forcing them to adopt Greek customs.
Wow.
And one of the most egregious acts that's attributed to him
Okay.
is the desecration of the Jewish temple in Jerusalem.
Oh, wow.
Like he set up an altar to Zeus.
There's no way.
Yeah. And even sacrificed pigs there.
What?
Which would have been just a profound violation
Yeah.
of Jewish law.
That's a pretty bold move.
It's a bold move.
And some might even say blasphemous.
Yeah. Definitely pushing the boundaries there. Yeah, it's understandable why some scholars see this event
Uh-huh.
as a fulfillment of the abomination of desolation
Yes.
mentioned in the prophecy.
Right. It's like a direct echo almost
Yeah.
of the destruction that Gabriel foretold.
Wow. Okay, so that's one layer of interpretation.
Yeah.
But you're saying that there's another school of thought.
Right. There's this other perspective called the futurist view.
Okay.
And they see these events,
Yeah.
particularly the abomination of desolation,
Mm-hmm.
as pointing to something yet to come,
Okay.
perhaps even at the end of time.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we've got these two main camps then.
Yeah, kind of two main perspectives.
Those who see the prophecy as largely fulfilled in the past,
Right.
and those who believe it has a future fulfillment.
Yeah, still waiting for it to unfold.
Just fascinating how one single passage
It's amazing.
can generate such diverse interpretation.
I know, it just shows you the richness and the depth of
Yeah.
biblical prophecy.
And how it invites us to wrestle with meaning
Yes. It's not always cut and dry.
and consider different perspectives.
Right. It's an invitation to think critically.
And ultimately, I think, to deepen our understanding of how God works
Absolutely.
in history and in our lives.
It's about the big picture.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got this timeline of 70 weeks,
Yeah.
this anointed one whose fate remains shrouded in mystery,
Right. Still a mystery.
and this ominous warning
Huh?
about an abomination of desolation.
Yeah. Heavy stuff.
But before we dive too deep into specific interpretations,
Okay.
I think it's important to maybe zoom out for a second
Yeah.
and consider the bigger picture.
Right. The overarching message.
What is the core message?
Yeah.
The heart of what Daniel is experiencing here?
You know, at its core, I think Daniel chapter 9 is
Yeah.
about the unwavering faithfulness of God,
Okay.
even in the midst of exile and despair.
Right.
You know, it's about recognizing our own brokenness
Yeah.
and humbly seeking God's mercy.
Right.
And it's about holding on to hope,
Yeah.
even when the future seems uncertain.
You know, it's amazing how Daniel, even while living in exile,
Right.
surrounded by a culture that didn't share his beliefs,
Yeah. A completely foreign culture.
managed to stay so connected to God.
It's remarkable.
His prayer is just a testament
It is.
to the power of personal faith
Yeah,
and the importance of staying rooted in Scripture.
absolutely. It's about staying grounded.
Yeah. And so I think his example challenges us
It does.
to ask ourselves, how do we remain faithful in the face of adversity?
That's a good question.
How do we seek God's mercy and grace
Yeah.
in our own lives?
How do we apply this to our own lives?
And how do we hold on to hope?
Yeah.
Especially when the world around us
Right.
seems to be crumbling.
When everything seems to be falling apart.
And these are questions that resonate with all of us,
They do.
regardless of our backgrounds or beliefs.
Yeah. They transcend time and culture.
There's a universality to Daniel's experience
It's a timeless message.
that transcends time and culture. And I think that's one of the reasons why this chapter continues to captivate and inspire people.
It still speaks to us today.
Centuries after it was written.
Absolutely.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive,
We have.
but there's one key element of the prophecy that we haven't unpacked yet,
Uh-huh.
and that's the mystery of the 70 weeks
Yes.
and their possible fulfillment.
Right. Still a lot to uncover there.
So we'll unravel those threads in the final part of this deep dive.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, so we're back, and we're in the final part of our deep dive into Daniel chapter 9. And
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
it really has, yeah. We've gone from the depths of Daniel's prayer
Yeah, from that raw emotion.
to this prophecy that's just shrouded in symbols and
Yeah, so many layers of meaning.
layered with meaning. And then right at the heart of it all is this enigmatic timeline, the 70 weeks.
Those 70 weeks, yeah, they've sparked endless debates.
Oh, yeah.
And fascination throughout history.
It's like everyone wants to solve this puzzle. You know, what is the code?
Hacking the code.
What are the implications for the world?
Yeah, what does it all mean?
Okay, so let's try to roll up our sleeves and dive into some of these interpretations.
Let's do it.
You mentioned earlier that there are different schools of thought on how these 70 weeks play out.
Right. There are different ways to look at it.
So tell me about that.
Well, one prominent interpretation is often called the dispensationalist view.
Okay. The dispensationalist view.
And they see these 70 weeks
Okay.
as a literal time span, 490 years.
490 years. That's a pretty specific number.
It is very specific.
So how do they arrive at that?
Well, they base it on the idea that each week in the prophecy symbolizes 7 years,
Okay.
drawing on this concept of the sabbatical year in Jewish tradition.
Oh, okay. I see. So each week representing 7 years.
Right.
And then you have 70 weeks that would add up to 490 years.
Exactly. The math adds up.
Okay. So according to this view then, these 490 years outline a very distinct timeline.
Right. A timeline for God's interaction with humanity.
Yep.
And it culminates in the second coming of Christ
Oh, man.
and the establishment of his kingdom on earth.
So they see this prophecy as having a future fulfillment.
Yes. They believe it points to events
Okay.
that haven't happened yet.
So they would link elements of the prophecy like the abomination of desolation
Right.
and the descriptions of destruction to events that will occur during a future period of tribulation.
Exactly. It's all about a future time of great upheaval.
Okay, so that's one perspective.
Yeah.
What are some other ways that people have understood these 70 weeks?
Well, another common view is known as the preterist interpretation,
Okay, preterist interpretation.
and they tend to look to the past,
Okay,
focusing on events that unfolded centuries ago.
so they see the 70 weeks as primarily fulfilled in history.
Yeah. They believe the prophecy has already been fulfilled.
Okay, so what kind of events are they pointing to?
Well, they point to things like Antiochus V Epiphanes' desecration of the temple.
Right?
Remember him?
Yeah.
And the Roman destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD.
Okay, yeah. As possible fulfillments of this prophecy's timeline.
That's the historical context that we talked about earlier.
Exactly.
And if I remember correctly, some scholars within this camp believe that the Anointed One could refer to Jesus.
Yes, that's one line of thinking.
In his crucifixion as the fulfillment of the cutoff prophecy.
Right. They see Jesus' death as the fulfillment.
Interesting. Okay, so we've got one camp that sees a future fulfillment.
Right.
Another camp that sees a past fulfillment.
It's amazing how the same text
Yeah, it's fascinating.
can yield such different interpretations.
It really is. And I imagine that there are even more nuanced views out there
Oh, absolutely.
than what we've discussed.
You know, you have scholars who blend elements of both,
Oh, wow.
the futurist and the preterist views,
Okay.
suggesting that this 70 weeks prophecy may have multiple layers of fulfillment,
Yeah.
some in the past and some yet to come.
So it's like a really complex and multifaceted prophecy.
It is. It's a prophecy that keeps on giving.
It really does.
It keeps us thinking and it challenges us.
Yeah. Doesn't give us easy answers.
It really doesn't. So where does that leave us then?
Well,
We've explored Daniel's prayer.
right, that powerful prayer.
We've encountered the angel Gabriel.
Yeah, the messenger.
And we've delved into the mysteries of this 70-week timeline.
We've wrestled with those symbols
You've examined historical events.
and considered different perspectives.
And while we may not have all the answers,
We may not have cracked the code completely.
I think we've gained a much deeper appreciation for the richness and complexity of this ancient text.
I think so too.
And
Oh, hopefully.
this deep dive has sparked your own curiosity
Yes.
to keep exploring
To keep digging deeper.
and wrestling with these scriptures.
Because that's the beauty of it all, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's not about finding all the answers.
it's about the journey.
It's about the journey, the insights we gain along the way.
Exactly. And as we wrap up our exploration of Daniel chapter 9,
Yeah.
we want to leave you with one final thought.
A thought to ponder.
Considering all the layers of meaning that we've uncovered today,
Yeah, all the different facets.
what aspects of this chapter resonate most deeply with you?
Is it Daniel's unwavering faith
Yeah.
in the face of exile?
Or the profound themes of repentance and grace?
Or maybe it's the enduring mystery
Yeah.
of God's plan unfolding throughout history.
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
So we encourage you to reflect on these questions
Yes.
and continue your own exploration of Daniel chapter 9.
Keep searching.
That's
Keep questioning.
Because ultimately the most important takeaway is this.
Okay.
The scriptures, even in their complexity and ambiguity,
Right.
have the power to challenge our assumptions,
They make us think differently.
deepen our understanding,
Expand our horizon
and draw us closer to the divine.
to that ultimate source of truth and meaning.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time,
Yes.
keep exploring
Keep questioning.
and keep seeking truth.
We'll see you next time.